Well, thanks for tuning in to Electric Bike Journal. For those of you that are looking for an electric bike that makes things easy, we'll look no further. Today, we're gonna be digging into the Living Easy from Fantic. I know it's in the name, but it's definitely a bike worth checking out. So stay tuned as we talk about the specs and ultimately see how well it rides and who it's for. Well, we've been having a lot of fun over the last few months as we've been riding the Living Easy, and we found out that there are some pretty cool features that make things very nice and, you guessed it, easy when it comes to riding. So we're going to talk about those as we talk about the specs and some of the features of this bike, and of course we'll share with you our thoughts on how it rides and who we think this bike is perfect for. This will just be a high-level glance over the specs. We don't want to get lost in the weeds with all the numbers and the jargon. So if you are looking for more of that information, always, of course, be sure to check out their website to learn about everything, and be sure to check out our site. We'll have all those details listed out in our review article that you can find at electricbikejournal.com. The Living Easy uses Yamaha's PWS2 drive unit, which is very cool, super quiet, very efficient, and that is paired to the Fantic 630 watt-hour battery that is removable from the frame, so no need to worry about having a bike that you can't get the battery out to charge or lock up or whatever reason you might need. You can definitely still remove it to get that out of the frame pretty easily. Plenty of room there. That battery combined with the drive unit gets the Living Easy about a 60-mile range per charge, and in our testing, we found that to be pretty spot on. In fact, it's getting over 60 miles on a full charge, which I don't want to give too much away, but I think that means it's pretty efficient. Helping with that efficiency is a SRAM 12-speed drivetrain. It's a SX Eagle spec with hydraulic disc brakes and 700C wheels that have Vittoria e-Rondor electric bike specific tires on there, so reflective sidewall. These are 48C tires, so just shy of a 2-inch tire, but plenty of volume to make things comfortable, and you do get a front suspension fork on there to help offer even more support. And of course, as a city e-bike, it does come with lights both front and rear. You are gonna be out on the road riding, so you're gonna have cars around, people around, other bikes around. It's nice to have as much visibility and awareness brought to you as possible, so a very good headlight that does do its job, a taillight that does its job, and a very comfortable saddle mounted to a suspension seat post, and not just one that's on there, one that actually works consistently every time, really making this bike very comfortable, especially in combination with the front suspension fork on there. Great bike. That's enough of the specs. Let's get into some of the ride impressions. Up first, we'll talk about climbing and hill performance, show you how this bike rides, and talk about some of the details of this drive unit and some of the other details that we think make this bike pretty easy. All right, well, coming into this hill, bike off, we just want to know, how does it pedal if you have no battery? And getting up into that granny gear, things are gonna go slow, but it has ample gearing that you're gonna be able to pedal up stuff pretty easily. Obviously slower, but still be able to do it because you have good gearing. Eco Plus is the first mode. I would say I'm hard pressed to think that it's applying much of any power, to be honest. Once you kick it into Eco, you can actually hear that drive unit kick in. So we'll talk a little bit more about those power modes a little bit later on. Now, Eco, from the bike being off, feels pretty good. Of course, once you're pedaling for a while, it doesn't feel like that much power. Standard has been what I've been riding most of my time on this bike, which pedal assist mode I've been using. And, on the flats, you're holding about 18 miles an hour pretty easily. Cruising up this hill, not so much about speed, more of effort. You can start to feel that 75 Newton meters take hold. They help push you and get you uphill without working a whole lot. I'm gonna round the corner up here and take this hill in high. So we'll go ahead and start the hill in standard and then kick over so you can see. This is pretty much from a stop. I'm not in the easiest gear, about halfway. This is standard. And again, I could push this whole hill. You could feel that power come in. But when you go to high, it really ramps up. Feel that curve shift. And it is zipping along. And it's not so much about overall speed, it's your personal effort and how hard you are working to get the bike to move, and drive unit really coming in to help support you. Now, along with those 4 different pedal assist modes, the Eco Plus, Eco, Standard, and High, if you were to hold down the plus button or the up button, that'll put you into an automatic support mode. So a little A shows up here on the controller next to the speed in between the battery there. And that is an auto mode. If you're pedaling really hard and you need to smash up there, it'll automatically kick you up into high. And then if you relax and you're just casually pedaling along, maybe it'll drop you down to standard or even eco and helps regulate your speed. This is a great mode. I'm a big fan of auto modes. I just feel like they're really efficient for overall battery usage. They kind of take the thought out of it for you and help you maintain the right speeds and always be prepared for that next little push in the terrain. Well, as you can see, riding the Living Easy, whether it be off or on in a high mode, it's a very efficient bike, and 75 Newton meters of torque really helps boost this bike to the next level, I think. You know, typically we're seeing 50, 55, 60, maybe 65 Newton meters of torque on a mid-drive. So that 75 Newton meters from Yamaha not only unlocks this bike to have a lot of power to get up those hills, but being able to keep it so quiet is very impressive as well. I'm very much so enjoy the Yamaha drive units, and we do not ride enough of them, so it's nice to see one here. Now, I'm sure you saw it, you were paying attention, the auto mode. This is something that I think is the crux of the easy element of this bike. Of course, it coming with everything it needs to be ready to go, you know, the lights, the fenders, the suspension. Those are all great details, and when it comes to riding, very important, not something you want to hunt for later on. But the auto mode, I think, really is what steps this bike up, and I think having that in the Yamaha platform is really fantastic. And something you might not have thought about with that auto mode is that it is going to be able to offer you that support that you're gonna need if you happen to come to a stop or you're on a hill and you happen to be in the wrong gear and you're maybe not ready or prepared or fast enough to change gears in time. So rather than being bogged down because you're in a high gear, you're just cruising on a flat road and had to come to a stop and you forgot to change gears, it's gonna be able to help you out a little bit to get those first few pedal strokes in while you need to buy that time to change gears. And after that, it's just gonna help regulate the power overall. And I think that's a really big detail to focus on with this bike, is compared to other bikes that kind of fit the bill and do many of the same things, not having that auto mode. The only thing that I can think of to make it even better is an auto mode with some sort of internal shifting or e-shifting. That'd be a lot. And there are some bikes out there doing that, but they're definitely not coming in at 2690s. But that's enough of the auto mode. So let's get into some of the fit and feel of the Living Easy. As a whole, it's a really good looking bike. I like this matte kind of metallic blue color. It's just something that you don't see on other bikes. I think the frame design and some of the lines are just unique and fun. On top of that, you know, again, the fenders, the suspension, the lights, it has everything you need. It's a complete package. And a little bit more discreet there, as you can see down it on that chain is a really well-formed, well-shaped, discreet chain guard. So it's really cool to see a designed, intentional one that just blends right into the frame, which I guess the purpose of that would be so you don't see it. And it's really something you have to look hard to actually discover when you're looking at this bike. Now, before we get into comfort and the overall feel of this bike, one of the misses in the design, which I'll just be upfront about, for me, is the lack of a bottle mount. I really enjoy riding bikes a lot and far, and water is very important. So not having a bottle cage mount on there kind of is a miss for me. It's okay. There are a lot of solutions out there. For myself, I just strapped on a Blackburn handlebar water bottle cage and soft bag and just use that for the time being, which is something I throw on a lot of different bikes if they don't have a bottle cage specifically, or maybe I'm going on a longer ride and I need extra ones for more water. It fits. There's not a lot of clunk on the bars, so it's something I could put on very easily. But that is the only visual miss on this bike. And I guess to make up for that, it does come with that built-in lock. So I'm not carrying a lock around with me, which I would rather carry water than a lock. So it's nice that that's on there. As far as comfort goes, again, the seat post, really, the fact that it works consistently every time and you can kind of tune that in for yourself, that is amazing. And I really enjoy having that on there. Of course, as a city bike, a dropper post would be super nice and be able to have that remote lever to lower the seat down at a stop. But a suspension seat post that works is going to be a great, pass for me, and I think you're going to enjoy that when you're riding it. It's a very comfortable saddle on there too, so you're not getting fatigue. I easily went out and did multiple 20-mile rides, 40-mile ride, and put in hours of riding and never once found myself being uncomfortable while riding. As far as touch points go for your hands, there's not really much to write home about. It's a nice clean cockpit setup, a nice comfortable rubber grips, so you have plenty of grip. They're thick, so a lot of support, sort of paddle shaped, so you get that extra little comfort on the heel of your palm. And the suspension fork up front does what it's supposed to do. It does have a lockout, and you can set the air pressure, so you can kind of tune that in for yourself and be able to lock it out if you're just cruising flat roads that aren't bumpy, and make this bike even more efficient. But for the most part, after I threw some air in the fork for my rider weight, I left it open and never thought about it, and really just enjoyed it working and being supportive while I ride around town. Well, not every bike is absolutely perfect, and that's why there are so many options out there. Although the Living Easy does check off a lot of boxes and a lot of the priority boxes for me when it comes to riding an electric bike, there's a couple things that stood out that I wanted to bring to the surface and share just because I think it's important. To start, the brakes. The brakes work great. I really like the lever feel, and I just think they're comfortable, and I think they work really well. But in combination with the brake pads and the rotors, I did not find them to have the bite that I am looking for on a bike or an electric bike. This is something I encourage everyone to just be aware of the brakes on your bike, or if you're getting a new bike, just be aware of them as they bed in and start to wear. I had one circumstance where a car definitely cut me off on a main road at full speed. Fortunately, I sensed the situation happening before it actually happened, but they did turn right in front of me without a turn signal or barely even using brakes. They just kind of smashed over real quick, and I grabbed a handful of brake, front and rear, and the bike kind of pushed through. Didn't quite stop the way I would love that to happen, but that could have been the bedding process, and I have looked into it, and I've been able to clean them up a bit to get them to have a little bit more bite. But just something I want to note, as it could be specific here, or it could be on your own bike that isn't even this one. Pay attention to your brakes. They're very important. Secondly, the tires. I really enjoy these tires around town. I think they're really quiet, and I think they have really good traction. Even this time of year with leaves and wet patches and everything scattered on the ground, I have not been suffering for traction and really feeling confident riding. However, if you have to, or part of your commute is forcing you to ride off-road, I did find that these tires don't have quite the traction, so going fast and coming into corners and on the dirt, it can get a little loose and a little squirrely. So yeah, if this is the perfect bike for you on everything else on the checklist, I would encourage you, if that's the type of your riding you're going to be doing, to maybe look at a tire with a little bit more tread for that hybrid mixed use riding. But if you're going to be sticking to the pavement, these E-Run doors are great, and it's a great spec choice on their end. At that price point, they are giving you everything you're looking for, and outside of the brake pads, for me specifically, there's nothing on this bike I would change or be looking to upgrade. Of course, my mountain bike or my gravel bike or my road bike, there's things that I'm always looking to tinker with and stuff, but for a commuter, I'm looking for lights, I'm looking for fenders, I'm looking for comfort, and I'm looking for a lot of power and really good range. This checks all of those boxes, and does so by having name brand componentry on there. We got a Yamaha drive unit, we got Vittoria tires, SRAM drivetrain. They've done a great job at speccing this bike out and not really cutting corners to make it more affordable and giving you a bike that's gonna be suffering in a lot of different areas, which sets this bike up to be perfect for a lot of riders. And I know that's vague or kind of a cop-out, but truly this is a great bike for anyone looking to ride every day specifically commuters, specifically those people that are looking to get a quick spin in after work, going for those fun family rides on the weekend, or solo rides on the weekend for that matter. It's capable, it's comfortable, has plenty of power. So if you live in San Francisco and got steep hills everywhere, you're gonna be fine. You're not gonna be huffing and puffing to make it to the top. And equally, if you live in a place like this, that's a little bit flatter, cruising around town, you're gonna be able to hold speed. Again, not be huffing and puffing, you're not sweating. 75 Newton meters of torque on a mid-drive, 12-speed drivetrain, 29-inch wheels. It's gonna cruise and it's gonna be efficient. And if you are commuting 5 to 10 miles a day at most, that's a week before you need to charge it back up again. So your utility bill is not going to be super high when you plug that in every single day to charge it. Well, there it is, folks. The Living Easy from Fantic at $26.90. I think a very great offering in the category of city commuter electric bikes. Definitely something that you should check out, and maybe go online. Try to find a dealer close by so you can get some time spinning and riding this bike around. I'm sad to see this one go as winter's showing up, and there goes my one bike with fenders. So now I gotta hunt for a new one. Do you have any ideas? What bike should I get next? Well, we'll see what comes our way. I don't always get to choose, but thank you so much for watching. If this video was helpful at all, or you have any questions, I know I kind of glossed over some things. So if you have any questions, leave those down below. And again, if this was helpful, click subscribe. That would help us so we can continue to do reviews and talk about electric bikes, and maybe put something in front of you that you haven't heard of or seen before. So thanks again for watching. See you in the next one.